And y'all know some crazy people out here. So these Hispanic workers were out there just doing their job, but this white woman decided to show her ass. Watch this.
Because they're not documented.
They 100% are. They 100% are. But it's not your information.
Sure it is. I'm a citizen of the country. I mean, I'm a citizen. How is it not my business?
They're not even working on your property.
It doesn't matter. They're working in my neighborhood. They're working next to my property.
Is that? I don't understand. They all have documentation, and now you're demanding it.
Yes.
Are you demanding mine as well?
Well, you obviously are not Hispanic.
And why is that? Why are you not demanding my documentation?
Are you that dense? Are you?
Is this a racist thing? Is because they're Hispanic?
Of course. Hispanics are the only undocumented here. Mexicans and South Americans. Yes. And we're facing a huge crisis in this country.
Do I need to get police involved here?
Sure.
So that you'll let these guys alone?
I'm not bothering them.
You are harassing them, and you're actually on this person's property as well.
No, I'm not.
Okay. I'm going to have these guys keep working.
Well, okay, and I'm going to call the police.
Okay. I will as well. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know, but I'm going to have these guys keep working. We're contracted by them. They're actually getting ready to come out and let you know the same exact things. So I'm going to have them keep on rocking and rolling.
You keep rocking and rolling.
Okay,
you
awesome.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great.
How arrogant and racist can you be to roll up on some folk who ain't even doing work for you and demand to see their papers? This literally, Joe, is what we saw during racist apartheid when black people had to carry a passbook with their papers. And anybody white could just accost them and demand to see their papers.
And hey, this is where we're going. It was not only the fact that she did it, but the thought that she could. No ramifications. And just as honest as pie. Are you doing this because they're Hispanic? Yes, absolutely. You know, they're the only people that are here legally. Mexicans and South Americans, that's it. That's all there is. That's the only problem. Not on her property, doesn't have anything to do with her at all, but she needs to see their papers. But this is entitlement. This is where we're going. And if we're not aware of it, it's going to sink down on us, out of nowhere. And then everybody's going to wonder why we're dealing with what we're dealing with. It's because they feel like they can.
These racists, Randy, are emboldened. And they absolutely believe, and you say, yeah, you damn right, I can just walk up on you and demand to see papers.
This is their country, and anybody else has to prove their rights to be there. This is how they feel. I mean, her attitude was obvious. Like, she didn't try to hide it. She believes that this country is hers and that anybody else is hyphenated. But she has the absolute right to walk up and ask you to prove why you're there. And this happens every day, thousands of times a day. Everybody has a story. And that's how the term Karen came up. And what is always so interesting to me, though, is how safe she feels. Also, when he said, I'll call the police, because she knows that the police is typically going to work on her behalf and take her side. There's no fear. Whereas when you tell Black people, I'm going to call the police, we react very differently because we understand that it usually does not go in our favor, regardless of how right that we are. I congratulate the boss who definitely tried to protect his employees. That made me proud. I like to see allyship in action. I wish she'd even done more, but it was better than I would see sometimes. But she's disgusting, but she's also typical.
And what we're seeing, Mustafa, Republicans are passing bills that will allow law enforcement to do the same thing, or just these lone wolves out there. I mean, we are going to see more of this in this country. Bank on it.
It's about power and privilege. I mean, Joe touched on some of that. And we've got these, the question becomes, where do people get this from? Well, some of it is just embedded into them. Maybe it's in their DNA, but it's definitely in the history of how their power can play out. But now we've got, these various lawmakers who continue to introduce these pieces of legislation where folks can just pull people over, they can stop them and say, show me your papers. But if you understand the history behind those types of actions, as you mentioned, it's not only South Africa, the Nazis did it to Jewish folks and part of the black codes. You can go through the history of this country and a number of other countries where people have utilized these types of things to oppress folks and to also put people in their place. Last point I'll make is that she really doesn't understand immigration in this country, because if she looked at the northern border as well as the southern border, you'd find that there are people coming from Europe illegally. There are people coming from other countries illegally. So we need to make sure that, one, we understand the fullness of what's happening. Then two, making sure that we have a fair and just immigration policy so no one has to worry about the fear of someone like this or others trying to get over on them.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. So for folks out there, understand this is the nonsense you see happening every single day.
Yeah, somebody's killing poor people, and it's going on. Yeah.
When COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID. If you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties had waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate
that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for moral revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? 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 We are a resurrection, and we are ready.